Just a quick word on some of the terminology used in this video. Pelvis up isn't the bad side, uppermost. Pelvis up relates to the direction that you're going to thrust the pelvis in. So basically, you're pulling the pelvis up towards the head. Pelvis down is the reverse, you're pushing it down towards the feet. This results in side flexion of that segment. The side flexion is enhanced by barring the joint from the top down by pulling the arm cranially, causing side flexion. So if I pull the pelvis up and pull the cranial arm up towards the head, I'll end up side flexing it to the side uppermost on the table. If on the other hand I push the pelvis down, pull the arm caudally, then I'll side flex the body towards the side on the bed. And this will result in flexion on one side and extension on the other side. The purpose of this is so that you can alternate your technique. For example, if I want to extend the right joint, then I'll prefer to use the pelvis up. That's my personal preference. But I need to be able to right rotate the joints below in order to lock them. So if I have a rotary instability, for example, or if it's painful when I try to do this, then I won't be able to lock them. So I can't use that technique. I can still extend that right joint, if that's the right one I was doing, the uppermost joint. I can still extend that right joint by laying them on the other side, doing a pelvis down technique, so side bending to the right. That's the purpose of up and down techniques, and that's the meaning of the terminology. The other term I use is log roll. This involves rolling the whole patient toward you, as you would roll a log toward you. The purpose of this is to bring your arms and your hands into a position where they're usable. Now, I've placed my forearm on the back of their pelvis. Now, obviously, you can't manipulate with my hand on the back of the pelvis. So you log roll the patient over until your arm is in a usable position to do either one. And that's log rolling. The rotary lock below, where you undo the flexion or extension, and you're doing that for a purpose. You want to take it away from the barrier that you've got to manipulate towards, but you still have to lock that joint to provide a rigid lever. That segment to provide a rigid lever, and you do that through rotation. Now, when you rotate in neutral, neither joint reaches its end range, but you've reached the end of rotation. So that's basically lock that segment without taking the two joints into their ends of ranges. So this is a non-articular locking technique. I think that covers just about everything that might be a little bit unusual about it. And I like these two techniques because they avoid rotation. And if you're going to produce post-manipulative soreness, it's going to be with rotation. The other thing to consider, of course, is the possibility that there's a disc bulge in there. There's some high probability, actually, depending on what studies you read. It's anywhere from 20 to 80% of asymptomatic people will have a significant bulge on imaging. You really don't want to put a torque through that. It's unlikely you're going to do any damage to it, but if you can avoid even that little bit of a risk by not using the torsion technique, where you're applying torque to that disc, so much better. So that's the background of these two techniques. Okay, we're going to use a pelvis up technique, and all that means is I'm going to bring the pelvis up as part of the thrust. So this will either extend the right side or flex the left side, depending on how I set them up for it. So let's look at extending the right side first. We're going to extend the spine, and there's nothing specific about this. As long as I get the segment I want to manipulate extended, I'm fine with it. This arm goes back, and I'm going to side flex him to the right, and this arm will bias the side flexion into extension. So we'll pull cranially with the arm there, like so. Now I've got everything extended and left side flexed, but what I want to do is undo the segments below the level that I'm going to manipulate. That is, unextend them, otherwise the thrust is going to force those further into extension. So let's say I'm doing L3, 4. I'll palpate L4, flex the bottom leg until I feel L4 just start to move. So now these are back to a more neutral position. They will have to be locked, and I'll do that by doing rotation. And then I'll bring one side up, one side down, but neither of the two facets will reach their end of range, but it will be locked with rotation. This arm will go onto the soft spot, which is about where the piriformis is of the pelvis. Log roll. Now this is important. The whole patient is rolled toward me, so with my right and left arms, I'll pull him into me and use that to straighten up. This will bring this arm, the thrusting arm, into a position where it can thrust. So I've now got him log rolled, extended everywhere I want except for the levels below. They are locked in rotation, and I'm going to bring the pelvis up so it side bends the pelvis to the right, which is actually side bending to the right. So it's this movement. So it's an adduction of the arm there, and then I'll finish off the side bending by using my body to drive the arm and the pelvis up there, and then drop straight down, like so. So if I set them up again and do the whole thing from scratch, onto your back, onto your side, come towards me a bit, get them in nice and close. We'll extend below, there, side bend and extend above, there, undo the extension from any segments below that are not going to be the target segment, log roll, rotate and lock, bring the pelvis up and drop straight down, there, good. Now, flexion of the left side. Turn onto your side for me. Thank you. Come in towards me a bit more there. And straighten your bottom leg out there. And now we're going to flex from the bottom. So we'll flex as far up as you want to. Make sure that the facet you're manipulating is flexor. This arm now drops forward to bias the side bending into flexion. And again, we pull this cranial, don't help, there, to side bend him to the right. Arm can go back now without any trouble. And I'm now going to unflex the levels below, there, log roll, lock, pull the pelvis up, drop down, there. So again, to do it all in one shot, onto your side for me, come into me a bit more, good. We'll flex, arm forward, pull, no, stop helping, pull cranial, don't help, there we go, good, arm can go back, we'll extend the levels below, where I'm not interested, log roll, lock, drive the pelvis, drop, there, good. Right, now, an alternative technique is a pelvis down technique where I'll be driving the pelvis that way rather than this way. So, bring it back up a little bit. Turn on your side for me. Good. Come into me a bit more. Okay, now, same thing happens here. We'll do extension again. So we'll extend the lower vertebra, and this arm will stay back there. Now this time the bottom arm will be pulled caudally, side bending him to the left and flexing the right joint. Sorry, extending the left joint. So we're pulling the arm caudal there. Good, that can go back into your head. And like so. Log roll again, but this time, there's the lock. This time I'm going to put my weight that way. Slightly oblique, not quite, well, somewhere in the line of the femur, but up, down that way somewhere. There's the lock, and I'm going to lean on my arm, keep my body vertical, and thrust down. There. So, okay. We use the same technique to regain flexion. The flexion will be on the right side. So I'll get you roll into me again. There. This time we'll flex him from the bottom. There. This arm will drop down, and this the arm on the left will be pulled caudally again, so he's side bent left in flexion now. We'll undo the flexion below, log roll, lock, take up the down slack, thrust. There. Okay. Now all in one go. Onto your side for me. Good. Flex, down, cranial caudal pull there, undo the flexion below, log roll, lock, thrust. There. Pelvis down, we'll look at pelvis up first, all right? Good. Break the legs. First and foremost, break the bloody legs. If his legs are like that, I can't do that. Look, I can't do it. I can't control it. I can't rotate him. Break the legs. Straighten the bottom one out. Straighten the bottom leg again. Okay, now look. And I've got rotation. All right, so we break the legs. We're going to extend the right joint. So we'll extend through it. Arm back. Pull up here to side bend him to the right. Undo below the level I've got an interest in. Log roll him. Lock him with rotation. Pull the pelvis up. Drive it with your body. So if you look at what I'm doing now, that's what I'm doing in thrust. Right? Log roll, lock, pull it under, thrust. Pelvis up. Undo yourself. Come back. Now we'll do pelvis up, flexion. Legs broken. Flex through it. Arm forward. Pull up to side bend him right. Arm back. Undo the flexion below the level. Alright, log roll, lock, pull the pelvis up, drive it with your body, drop straight down. Good?
And you're still treating the right side?
No, I'm treating the left side.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now, pelvis down.
Right extension.
Come back on his side. Get your hip back a bit as well. There you go. You need to be a bit fussy with their positioning, all right? The way he was then is very unstable. So you just shift his, and not that I'm moving his pelvis back on the bed. He was sort of sitting like that. All I did was go and move his bum back a bit, right? So now we're going to do pelvis down. We'll do extension again. So I extend, arm back to extend it. This time pull the arm, actually I want you on the shoulder. There. Pull the arm down to side bend him left. Undo the extension below. Now I'm going to take him down, log roll, lock, lean the direction I want to go, thrust that way. Right? Look where you're going. So that was extension for the left side. Undo again, back onto your side. All right. So now we'll do flexion. Flex him, arm forward, pull this arm down, there, arm back, undo the flexion below, okay, log roll, lock, lean, thrust. All right? That's it.